Questions 21 through 25 on the 2021 Grade 10 Cayley Math Contest. The variables a, b, c, d, e, f represent the numbers 4, 12, 15, 27, 31, 39 in some order. Suppose that a plus b is c, b plus c is d, and c plus c is f. What is the value of a plus c plus f? Originally, I thought we would have to manipulate these equations, but I later quickly realized that it's just trial and error. That's all it is. Okay, so we are told that it's in some order. It's not necessarily that this is A, this is B, this is C. That would be way too easy, right? So we got to figure this out. Okay, A plus B equals C. So after several attempts, I got to that 15 plus 12 is equal to 27. Here's the 15, here's the 12, here's the 27. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay, B plus C is D. Well, B is 12, C is 27, so that is 39. Therefore, D is 39. Okay, so there's only, two numbers left that I didn't choose so far. C is 27, and therefore, obviously, the only number that can go here is 4, so that's got to be my E. And that's 31, and therefore that's F. So, as you can see, if you do a little bit of trial and error, you'll get the appropriate numbers for each letter. So A plus C plus F, well, A is 15, C was 27, and F was 31. And those three numbers, 15 plus 27 plus 31 is 73. So number 21, the answer is C. The cells of a 3 by 3 grid are to be filled with integers so that the average value of the entries along each row, each column, and each diagonal is the same. The integers 10, 64, and 70 are entered as shown. When the remaining 6 squares are filled in to complete the grid, what integer replaces x? So I'll just label this y and label this z for now, and let's see what we get. So if the rows, columns, and diagonals have the same average, they also have the same sum. It's pretty much the same thing. So that means 64 plus 10 plus y is the same as 64 plus 70 plus z. And when you collect all the like terms, it becomes basically 60 plus z. So this is 60 plus z. And this is z by itself. So I'm trying to get everything in terms of one variable. That way I can figure it out. Okay, so far so good, I think. This middle number I'll just call W for now. So that means this would be equivalent to that, according to the question. So 64 plus 70 plus Z would be the same as Z plus W plus 60 plus Z. So that means it looks like the z's, at least one of the z's cancel, and the 64 and 70 is 134, and that equals W plus 60 plus z. So that means we have 74 minus z is W. Okay, so let's put that in there. 74 minus z. Okay. So then, I think, what's next here? Which direction? Obviously, let's go with this one here. We have to get some sort of a value for x. So we'll just use those two columns, 64 plus 70 plus z, and then the other column would be 10 plus 74 minus z plus x. So that looks like it will be 2z, and then the numbers, when you combine them all, will be 134 minus 84, and that is minus 50. So there we go. X is 2z minus 50. Plus 50, sorry about that. Plus 50. All right, where do I want to go next? A lot of comparisons here. I'll just do this one. I think this should be the last one. So from that, I can get that Well, let's just use the standard comparison, 64 plus 70 plus z. And then with that diagonal, that's going to be, or I can just use that row, several choices here, z plus 2z minus 50 plus n. Okay, let's isolate for n now. So n looks like we've got minus 2z, and then when you add up all the numbers, 134 plus 50, 134 minus 50, that's going to be 84. Okay, I think we're in the final step now. So the final step, again, I'll just use the standard one, and then now I'm going to compare it to this diagonal. So we've got 64 plus 70 plus z, and that equals 64 plus 74 minus z plus 84 minus 2z. So when you collect this, all the numbers, that's going to be 222 over here on this side, and then minus 3z, and on this side is 134 plus a z. So that looks like it will be 4z, and that will be 222 minus 134 is 88. Okay, so that means z is 88 divided by 4, which is 22. Great, I got an actual numerical value after all of this comparison. So they want x, right? So x is that, which is, what is it, 2z minus 50, right? So that's going to be 2z plus 50, sorry. So that's going to be 44 plus 50, and that is 94. Great. Number 22, the answer is E. A special six-sided die has its faces numbered 1 through 6 and has the property that rolling each number x is x times as likely as rolling 1. For example, the probability of rolling a 5 is 5 times the probability of rolling a 1, while the probability of rolling a 2 is 2 times the probability of rolling a 1. Robbie and Francine play a game where they each roll this die 3 times, and the total number of their 3 rolls is their score. The winner is the player with the highest score. If the 2 players are tied, neither player wins. After 2 rolls each, Robbie has a score of 8, Francine has a score of 10. The probability that Robbie will win can be written in lowest terms as r over 400 plus s. What is r plus s? First, let's talk about the dice. The individual die has 6 numbers, right? 1 through 6. And then what is the probability? Well, at this point I don't know, so I'll just call it P. But one thing I do know is that the probability of rolling a 2 is 2 times that, according to their question. Probability of rolling a 3 is 3 times P, and then 4P, and then 5P, and so on, right? 6P. Another thing I know is that when I add up all these probabilities, they have to equal 1. So all of these guys, P plus 2P, and so on, would equal 1. So when you add that up, it's 21P is equal to 1, and therefore P is equal to 1 over 21. So this probability is really just 1 over 21. This is 2 over 21, and so on, right? 3 over 21, 4 over 21, 5 over 21, and 6 over 21. Okay, now that we have the probabilities, we can proceed with the question. So we have Rob and Fran. So we had roll number 1, and then we had roll number 2. And at that point, at the end of that point, they have scores of 8 and 10, respectively. So this score is now 8, and this score is 10. Now we want Rob to win. So how does Rob win on roll number 3? Well, let's discuss. If Fran rolls a 1, her score will be 11, 10 plus 1. For Rob to win, his score has to be greater than 11, so it has to be 12, for example. That would happen if he rolls a 4. Or if he rolls a 5, his score would become 13, he would win. Or if he rolls a 6, his score would be 14, and he wins. You can't go anything higher than a 6. Okay, these are scenarios where Rob would win. How about if Fran rolled a 2? Her score would then be 12. For Rob to win, his score would have to be higher than 12. So, for example, 13. That happens if he rolls a 5. Or 14, that happens if he rolls a 6. And that's it. If Fran on the third roll rolls a 3, her score is 13. Rob would have to have at least 14 to win, and that happens if he rolls a 6. So those are the scenarios and the only scenarios. So now we have to figure out what is the probability of all those scenarios. So let's talk about this. The probability of her rolling a 1, look up there, is 1 over 21. And Rob has to roll a 4. Probability there is 4 over 21. There we go. We just took care of the first scenario. Now we have to add what other scenario is there. Again, 1 for Fran, but this time 5 for Rob. So it'll be 1 over 21 times 5 over 21 because those are the respective probabilities. Again, 1 and 6 for Fran and Rob respectively. So 1 over 21 times 6 over 21. And then you get the idea. 2 for Fran, 5 for Rob. That's 2 over 21 times 5 over 21. And then 2 over 21 times 6 over 21. And the last one was 3 over 21 times 6 over 21. So that is basically the probability of Rob winning. So let's total this. The denominator looks like 21 squared, which is 441. And this looks like 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 10 plus 12 plus 18. And that is 55 over 441, which is basically 400 plus 41. Because they are saying for some reason that they want it in this form, r over 400 plus s. Okay? If that is the case, then that means r would be 55 and s would be 41. And r plus s is what they want. It would be 55 plus 41, which is 96. 96 is the answer to number 23, and that would be choice A. In the diagram, PQ is a diameter of the circular base of the cylinder. RS is a diameter of the top face of the cylinder and is directly above PQ as shown. Point U is on the circumference of the top face, halfway between R and S. Point T is on the cylinder and is directly above P. Suppose that QS is equal to M and PT is equal to N, where M and N are integers, M greater than N greater than 1. If QU is equal to 9 root 33 and UT is 40, what is the remainder when the integer equal to QT squared is divided by 100? Okay, well, the diagram is at the heart of this, so let's concentrate on that. So first, let's draw in some of our parameters and values. They didn't give us much, a lot less than I had hoped, but that's okay, we can figure this out. Okay, so essentially what we have to do is find the numerical value of QT squared, and then we can divide it by 100. All right, so the first thing is I've got to, let's concentrate first on UT squared. I think that should be good. Or whichever way, UQ. I think that might be a little bit easier. So Q to U, if I draw a line there, and then I draw a line all the way down, directly down, and then draw a line from there to there. And if you do, this will be a right angle. Now, if you are wondering how that works, I'll draw a circle, and I'll have that circle like flat to illustrate the bottom of that shape there, and it might make it a little bit easier for you. So that red line would basically be from one part to another part like this. And if I draw lines from the center to the edges like that, it will form a right triangle like this. So essentially what I did was I took this red line here and just drew it here in order to illustrate it a little bit better. Okay, so let's label this now. From top to bottom, all the way down, that is M. It's the same as that M. U to Q Well, that is 9 root 33. That's something they've given. Now that I don't know, and that's represented here. So because I don't know what it is, I'll just call it something. Let's just call it B. And this is obviously the radius, and this is obviously the radius of that circle at the bottom. This is a circle. It looks like an oval on that diagram, but in reality it's a circle, right? Okay, so from that first Pythagorean relationship, r squared plus r squared is equal to b squared. So that means 2r squared is equal to b squared. And then from this Pythagorean relationship over here, that one gives me that m squared plus this, which is b squared, is equal to 9 root 33 all squared. Okay, so that means m squared plus b squared is equal to 81 times 33. Yeah. Okay, I think that's about as far as I can go there. So we'll just leave it for now, and then we'll concentrate on something else. Now, let's next concentrate on the other guy that they give me, UT. UT is right here. So in a very similar way, I'd like to do that Pythagorean relationship again, but I'm going to draw in the circle to sort of make the diagram a little bit easier to understand. So there we go. And basically, it's the same story. I'm going to connect T to there, right there. Let's do it again here, right to there. And that makes a right angle like that. So in a very similar way, it's the same story, really. This UT they have given me is 40. And then from here to here, well, that is going to be m minus n. So m minus n, the distance from here to here. But what is this now? Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as what we did over here. The only difference is that now it's on the other side. So to avoid having too many diagrams, let's just use this one. So this time it's on that side. And now my red line is here, pretty much. And in the same way, I will just label that B because it has the exact same distance, right? So that second equation, using this triangle, right triangle, would be m minus n squared plus b squared, because this is b, is equal to 40 squared. And that will be my equation 2. Okay, so now we use equation 1 and 2 to solve for something. I'm not entirely sure what right now because we have so many variables, but at least we can get rid of one. And I think we can get rid of one variable by doing 1 minus 2. That would, I think, at least get rid of the b's. So that would become m squared. The b squared would disappear, and then it would just be minus m minus n squared. And on the other side, it would be this 81 times 33 minus 40 squared. Okay, so let's do this algebra. M squared minus m squared plus 2mn minus n squared. And those numbers, when you calculate that, it's 1073. All right, so this is nice. Those cancel. And then all I'm left with is this, really. So now where do I go? I think this is going to be a factoring situation. So if I factor out an n, it'll be 2m here and then an n here. And then 1073 divisible by 29, so 29 times 37. Okay, so now, since we have two variables, we've got to do a little bit of a comparison here. If this is my n, then this would be my 2m minus n. So for example, if the n is 29, then this would be 37. So let's see what we get. 2m minus n is 37. 2m would be 37 plus n, which is 29. And 37 plus 29 is 66, which is 2m. So therefore m would be 33. Okay, that works. That satisfies this inequality, that m is greater than n and it's greater than 1. And of course, we had chosen to be 29. Okay, So I'm pretty certain that is the way to go here. Now we have one final step, and that one final step is to figure out QT here. Okay, so where's QT? QT is somewhere. It's from there to there. And I guess we can just drop perpendicular down here and then go straight across. And this will be my right triangle. So from that, I get the following, that TP, which is n squared, plus PQ, which is 2r all squared, right? Because it's basically the distance from there to there, is equal to QT squared. Well, n, we actually know the numerical value. 2r squared, oh, okay. Well, what's that? 2r squared is right here, it's b squared. Okay, so b squared. Actually, wait. It's not like that. It's when you multiply it, it's 4r squared. I got to be careful there. Okay, so 2r squared. Now I've got a way to do this. 4r squared would actually be 2b squared. So there you go, 2b squared. Okay, can I get an actual value for b? And I think the answer is yes. Let's get an actual value for b using that formula. M squared, well, m is 33, so it'll be 33 squared plus b squared is equal to this 81 times 33. Okay, so that means b squared would be 81 times 33, which is 2673 minus 33 squared. And when you do that math, you get b squared is equal to 1584. Right. Okay, great. So that means this 2b squared would be 2 times 1584. And then 29 squared, that is just 841. All right, that's it. We got it. So QT squared, when you crunch out these numbers, 841 plus 2 times 1584 is 4009. And then they're saying, when you take QT squared and divide it by 100, what is the remainder? Well, the value is 4009. When I divide by 100, that equals 40 with a remainder of 9. And the remainder is what they wanted us to figure out. So 9 is the answer to this really cool question. Number 24, the answer is C. The points J27, K53, and LRT form a triangle whose area is less than or equal to 10. Let R be the region formed by all such points L with R between 0 and 10 inclusive and T between 0 and 10 inclusive. When written as a fraction in lowest terms, the area of R is equal to 300 plus A over 40 minus B. The value of A plus B is... All right, let's make a diagram and start. So the first thing, of course, is to label those points. 5, 3, which is K right there. This is 5 and this is 3 approximately. And this point right here is J, where that's 2 and that's 7. Okay, so now we have to create some sort of a triangle, and I'm not sure where that triangle will be. So let's just start with one point and talk about it. Let's say that is the point. So that triangle would look like this. And how do we figure out the area of a triangle? Well, it's 1/2 base times height. So let's just draw in a height that's perpendicular to the base, like this. And according to the question, the area has to be less than or equal to 10. So 1/2 base times height is less than or equal to 10. The base is from J to K right there, and the height is from here to here. But I don't know either of those right now. So let's see if I can figure out at least one. I think I can figure out the base because I've been given the points, right? So that base, the distance would be just calculated with the distance formula. So that would be 2 minus 5 squared plus 7 minus 3 squared under the square root sign. Okay, so that's going to be 2 minus 5 is minus 3 squared, 9. 7 minus 3 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So that looks like root 25, and therefore b is 5. Okay, great. So I did get actually one of those. So that means 10 times 2 is 20. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So h has got to be less than or equal to 4. Okay, great. So that means this height has to be less than or equal to 4. So that makes me think that if I draw a line that's parallel, not perpendicular, parallel to the other one, that is a very important line, because at any point it will be 4 from JK, which is the base. So as long as we draw lines that are perpendicular, they will have the same length. And those points would be able to make triangles that have an area of less than or equal to 10. If it's on the line, it would be 10. If it's not on the line, like here, then obviously the area would be less than 10. Okay, so that's pretty decent progress. But now I've got to figure out the equation of this line, because so far my area is this region right here. And the only way I can figure out that region is by first figuring out the equation of that line. And then, as you could probably already kind of figure out in your head, there's going to be another line on the other side. And that line, I don't know where it's going to be, but it would probably, in a very similar way, kind of cut through like that and be parallel to this first line. And then therefore the full region would be the region in between those two lines, as long as they're still within that box. So like this. Okay, so I've got to figure out the equation of those lines in order to figure out those coordinate points. Okay, so this will be my L1, this will be my L2, and this will be my L3. So here we go. First of all, I have to figure out the equation of L1. I haven't even done that yet. Okay, L1. We've got 2 points, right? J and K. We can easily figure this out. Y is equal to mx plus b. So let's see here. 3 would be equal to 5m plus b, and 7 would be equal to 2m plus b. Subtract, and when you do, you get minus 4 is equal to 3m. Therefore, m is equal to minus 4 over 3. And now we've got to figure out b. Substitute that in. Any of the points is fine. 3 is equal to 5 times minus 4 over 3 plus b. And when you solve for b, you get 29 over 3. So L1, the equation, is y is equal to minus 4 over 3x plus 29 over 3. Great. So we got the equation for L1. But now I need the equation for L2 and L3. And that is, in my opinion, a bit challenging. Not extremely challenging, but I think that's the part that stumps people. How do I figure out the equation of L1 and L2? Well, here we go. This is how you do it. The first thing, of course, is L2 is going to have, because it's a line, the form y is equal to mx plus b. That one I'm pretty confident everybody knows that. And then because L2 is parallel to L1, it has the same slope. So the slope will also be minus 4 over 3. But then the challenge is to figure out that b. How do you figure out that b? Well, what you do is you can choose a point, let's say, on this L2. So I'll just put the point right here. And that point, I will from that point, I will draw a line to K, like that. And then what I will do is draw a triangle that is a right triangle, like this. So now what we have is a situation as follows. From here to here, we had concluded has to be 4. So this is 4. And then this line, because I've drawn it in a way so that it's perpendicular to the other side, the line will have a slope that is a negative reciprocal of this line. So what is the slope of L1? Well, the slope of L1 was this, minus 4 over 3. So the slope of this line will be the negative reciprocal of minus 4 over 3, which is 3 over 4. That's this line right here. And we can call that, I guess, whatever. We just call it M for slope. Now, the slope, as you know, back to your early days, is calculated as rise over run, right? Rise over run. So the rise is from here to here, and the run is from there to there. So the rise would be something like 3x, and the run would be 4x. So there you go. From this triangle, we can figure out this b. And here's how you do it. So obviously from that triangle, you can get a Pythagorean relationship. 3x squared plus 4x squared is equal to 4 squared. So that is what? 9x squared plus 16x squared. 25x squared is equal to 16. X squared is 16 over 25. And therefore x would be 4 over 5. So that means 4x would be 16 over 5. And 3x would be 9 over 5. So that means this coordinate right here, that one, would basically be, let's just give it a name here, J, K, L, M, N. Let's call it N. So many letters, don't know what to call it. N would have the coordinates. Well, we know K. K is the coordinates, what was it again? 5, 3, right? So K was 5, 3. So you are going 4x units to the right from 5. So 5 plus 16 over 5. And then you're going 3x units up from 3. So 3 plus 9 over 5. And that would be the coordinates of n, which would be, if you do this math, this is 41 over 5. And this is 27 over 5. Okay, great. That gives me a point on L2. And that allows me to solve for b. So let's do that. Let's solve for b. I can put in any point, really. But this is the point, the only point I have. So y is 27 over 5 is minus 4 over 3, 41 over 5 plus b. Correct? And when you crunch out those numbers, you get 49 over 3. So that means this equation is minus 4 over 3x plus 49 over 3. In a very similar way, you can do the same thing for L3. And I will let you do that, but I'll give you what it is. The equation for L3 is y is equal to minus 4 over 3x plus 3. Okay, so we have done what we need to do. We got the equation for L1, which is right there. We got the equation for L2, which is right here. And then we got the equation for L3. Well, I had gotten it earlier. Now, the last part of this question is to figure out some of these intersection points. So we've got to figure out that, that, and that. And that's fairly straightforward to do. For example, this one right here, that the x-coordinate is just 10 because those are the boundaries. So all you have to do is put x equals 10 into L2, which is right here. And when you do, you get 10, 3 as the coordinate. And in a very similar way, this intersection point is calculated when y is 10. Because remember, 10 was the upper limit of the y. And again, it's the same one, L2. So again, you take y equals 10, and you put it into this equation, and solve for x. And when you do, you get 19 over 4. In a very similar way, you would get these ones using this equation down here. This one, this is L3. And those are just the x and y intercepts. So when x is 0 and y is 0. So when x is 0, it's 0, 3. That is 0, 3. And then when y is 0, this point right here is 9 over 4 0. That was obtained with this equation. Okay, we have everything. We have everything to solve. And let's recap. What is the region? The region is right here. This region here. And if you don't prefer it that way, to draw it that way, I'll just highlight it, I guess. I'll put a little red sort of highlight like that. That is the region I have to figure out. So how do you do that? Well, you would take the full region, which is a 10 by 10 square, and then subtract from it this triangle and that triangle, like that. So the first triangle, the small one, is 1/2 base times height. The base is 9/4, and the height is 3. And then we have to subtract this triangle. This one, let's see here. I got to figure out that distance. That distance looks like, since from there to there is 3, from there to there is 7. And then from here to here is 19/4, so from here to here would be 10 minus 19/4. And that is equal to about 5.25. Sorry, I'm mixing decimals with fractions. Okay, so that triangle would be 1/2 base times height. The base is 5.25, and the height is 7. All right, so let's do this. This is 100 minus 3.375 minus 18.375, and that is equal to 100 minus 21.75, and that is 78.25. Now I've got to get this into a fractional format, and if you multiply by 4, you get a integer, so I'm pretty confident that means the denominator is 4, and the numerator you can easily figure out is 313. I just changed that to a fraction. So now this is the form that they're talking about, 300 plus a over 40 minus b. I'm not entirely sure why they chose it like that, what the relevance is, but this is obviously 300 plus 13, and then 40 minus 36. That would do it, right? So that means a is 13, b is 36, and therefore finally a plus b would be 13 plus 36, which is 49. 49 for this challenging question. And therefore, number 25, the answer is D.